are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart and co-host, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Blake. I have to ask you, have you been tracking this latest conspiracy theory with the college football playoff? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I have not. I have been knee-deep in a coaching search all day, but can you enlighten me?
The top 7 teams are red. There's got to be something going on there. Seriously, the top. Okay, I know this is.
Hold on,
let me think if
I can name them. Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M is maroon.
They're a form of red.
Okay, Alabama,
form of red.
Ole Miss's main color is blue.
But there's still red in there.
No, but their main color is blue. But if you want to go there, I'll give you that.
Texas Tech is also mostly red.
Texas Tech gets 7.
The only 3 teams that are technically in the college football playoff right now, or actually even, I don't know if they're in the playoff, but you've got Notre Dame and Oregon and Texas. That's it. Technically Miami, but
so basically college football has been taken over by Satan.
Or communism. Either works.
Oh, good Lord. You had to go there. I did not see that. That is very interesting.
It means nothing.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. No, I've been knee-deep in a coaching search all day, even though I love conspiracy theories. Do you think that there's a conspiracy theory behind this?
What, the red team thing?
Yeah, this red cell.
No, well, I don't know if that's
you got
the case.
red, you got Christmas.
This is just a pure happenstance that my dumb brain was overly entertained with. What say you though about the LSU coaching search before we get into stuff today? Has there been any sort of ground that's been covered or anything, or is it still?
Yeah, they don't know where they're going. Yeah, they don't know where they're going.
Well, that's tough.
think that Jeff Brom was definitely someone that they were after, and then he's going to sign an extension here. I think that that's an LSU move. I do think that Florida and Penn State now at the current moment are getting a little bit antsy about LSU starting to make moves. They're not antsy in the sense of that there's a lot of chaos. But for all of these programs, for all of them, boy, I hear that there's a lot of money that's about to be thrown around. And you better get through the notion, through your brain right now, that 10 years, 10 million is poppycock. It is old news. Brian Kelly's contract, Lincoln Riley's contract, Marcus Freeman's new contract, if he signs one, Mike Elko's new contract, if he signs one, Lane Kiffin, when he signs one, whether it be LSU, Florida, or Ole Miss, you better
or the Giants. I know that Kiffin's or Jackson Dart's dad came out and said that Kiffin basically told him that there was no interest there. But I'm not really totally believing that. I think that the NFL is going to aggressively pursue him as well. I think that's a layer that no one's really talked about. But you're right. The amount of money that's going to be thrown around from either level. I wouldn't be shocked if this cycle we don't see a coaching contract rival some of the top contracts in the NFL, because the top NFL head coaching contracts are pretty high paying as well.
And it's around $15 million, correct?
Yeah.
Like not Dan Lanning. Dan Campbell's is really up there.
I know that Andy Reid's is the highest. He makes $20 million. Yeah, he makes 20. Sean Payton makes 18. John Harbaugh makes 17. Tomlin 16. Jim Harbaugh 16, and then McVay, Sirianni are both 15.
Well, Lane Kiffin's about to be around McVay. I don't think Lane Kiffin wants back in the NFL personally, but you better get your minds wrapped around it. And I'm not gonna say it. I don't want to get in the debate with you tonight. I don't feel, because we're going to debate about these coaching rankings. I don't want to.
Say what? That LSU is the best opening?
Oh, no. I just think that some of the conversations that people are saying that are happening at Notre Dame, then either LSU's being lied to, which is very plausible. And I think that Notre Dame fans need to stop saying that it's not true that there aren't conversations.
Oh, Notre Dame fans, from my understanding, I don't think Notre Dame fans are on this
AYS chat. Before you say that it's not happening, please go into last night's show.
Let me rephrase. Notre Dame fans might be in denial. Those that are in the media that are either fans of Notre Dame or cover Notre Dame understand that there are conversations that are
1,000%.
It is Freeman's his own personal situation and his agent. They're required to do, and they should do their due diligence and see what's out there. You should always see how much money you can get, because if you can, it's just like if you had a job and you're working a sales job or an accounting job, you might really like where you're at, but it doesn't hurt to go and take interest from another company, get a better offer, and then just say like, hey, I want to stick here. Can you match this? So those conversations are totally being had because
1,000% happened with one coach today. It happened with Jeff Brom.
Yes. Yeah. I'm curious how much he gets.
It's a massive win for Louisville. I think Jeff Brom's an amazing head coach. I don't think that he can win a national title there. It's his school. I went on a deep dive on Jeff Brom yesterday because the LSU side of things were like, hey, we're gonna look into this, and they did. And then he's like, I'm not leaving, but Louisville, you better give me an extension here. So we'll see. But I've legitimately been knee deep in this all day, and I'm just coming up for air. So it is really interesting. But you're not here for LSU coaching search, even though there's a lot of chaos surrounding it. You're here to hear two Italians argue with one another. Joe, it is week 12. Power rankings are here, and we are going to talk about our power rankings tonight. We'll talk about picks, Miami versus NC State. We will also get to as well. Before we get rolling, let's talk about our partners and our great partners over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app wherever you are located. Some states do require. Look into it, but download the FD Sportsbook app today. We are partnering through the football season with our good friends over at FanDuel. Parlays, futures, bets for this weekend that Joe and I will give in just a moment. We actually had our best week, you and I, this past week using our good friends app over the FanDuel. But you and I are gladly partnered to be partnered with FanDuel this football season. So go download it. Yeah, but we did win some money this week for people. For once.
Yeah, I was blown away because my personal bets that I placed, I did horrible. I did absolutely horrible. I placed a lot of bets. I'm a volume bettor. I think I was like 3 for 10. I did really bad. And then I went and tallied the picks from the show last week, and I was like, wait, I went 5-0 and you went 4-1. It was the best week that we had. Best week that we've had the entire year. So we're rebounded a little bit. It took us a while. Maybe we'll get over 500 in the next couple of weeks. But that's coming up at the end of the show.
It is. But we're greatly partnered. The one thing that we are is we're extremely excited to be partnered with our good friends over at FanDuel. For any thoughts, questions, and concerns, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. And what I personally love about the app is you can set your preferences. If you don't want to spend, or you only want to spend a certain amount of money per month, set that. That's what the RG part of their reliable gambling is for. I highly suggest you use it. I use it. If I go over $100 a month, which I don't, it shuts me down. So that's why you and I have partnered with FanDuel, and we're glad to be partnered with them. All right, let's get into rankings here today, Joe. Week 12. Who do you have in your top 12 or top 11 in G5 team this week going into week 12?
All right, I'm ready to cause some problems here. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Number 3, Texas A&M. 4, Alabama. 5, Texas Tech. 6, Georgia. 7, Ole Miss. 8, Oregon. 9, Notre Dame. 10, USC. 11, Texas. And my G5 pick, it's got to be JMU.
My top 12 here as it stands. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Texas A&M. Number 3, Alabama. Number 4, Indiana. Number 5, Georgia. Number 6, Ole Miss. Number 7, Oregon. Number 8, Notre Dame. Number 9, Texas. Number 10, Texas Tech. Number 11, USC. And my G6 team is South Florida. Joe, I got to hop this one right into you right now. How in the good wide world do you have Texas Tech at number 5?
Okay, Blake, I don't think that this is a ridiculous premise to have. I know that you were incredibly worked up earlier when I sent this to you and Jack, and I sent over our rankings so that he could put together the graphics for this week. This is where I want to start this. I personally believe after the top 4 teams, I don't think that there's a right answer. I don't. And I think that it is wrong to state that there is a clear team in that grouping of the 5, 6, 7, 8, that there is a order that it has to go by, because I think all of those teams have serious flaws. Texas Tech showed to me against BYU that when they're at full strength and they're at full capacity, that they are incredibly dominant. Hold on, I know, I don't want to hear the argument of BYU is not that good and us going down that route.
I mean, it's exactly what you said last night, but
they played a messy offense, but that's not what we're talking about here. Again, for the 100th time, we are not comparing resumes. If we have comparative data points where 2 teams played the same team, it allows for us to formulate arguments. If we saw weaknesses in certain games, that should be a part of this argument. I am ranking the teams that I think are the best teams. Against BYU, Blake, Texas Tech dominated BYU physically. And I think that it is incredibly important in college football. We say this every preview, every show. Winning along the line of scrimmage is the most paramount aspect of having a quality team.
And
let me just finish here. I think that having David Bailey and Romello Height is a huge advantage. It's arguably the best pass rush, if not the second best in college football. In terms of the production that they've been able to produce, behind Texas A&M would probably be the number 1 out there, but Cassius Howe is kind of carrying most of the weight. But to my point here, to just finish this out, all those teams in that grouping are flawed. Georgia doesn't have a pass rush.
I don't want to hear that anymore. I don't want to
hear
that.
Dude, it applies. They have 11 sacks on the season.
And when Texas Tech got sacked by BYU 4 times in the first half, I really don't want to hear it.
They didn't allow any sacks in the second half. They didn't allow any. They've got go ahead. What are you going to go ahead? What do you have to say?
This has got to be one of the angriest I have ever been on this show at you. Now, I love the Red Raiders and I love Joey McGuire. I do. I love them to death. It's not about where that you have them ranked. It's about where you have them ranked and who you have them over. There's no way in blue hell that you look at Georgia. Oh, well, Blake, they don't have a pass rush. Well, I could say that Morton has not been healthy, and that when push comes to shove, I'm going with Gunnar Stockton.
That's fine, and that's their flaw for me. That is their flaw for me.
I also saw them go up against the best defensive statistically in the run was BYU, and them struggle. What happens when they do that against Georgia?
What do you mean they struggled on the ground?
Joe, they struggled in moments and times on the ground. They weren't
moments and times. They had 149 yards rushing.
Yeah. Okay. What happens against Georgia? They had long runs. They had a run of 43 in there. They had a run of 33 in there. Let's just say 40 and a 30-yard run. Half of those runs came on 2 rushes. Go look at the long runs. So sustained success was not there in the run game. It wasn't. And you're meaning to tell me that a offensive line that in the first half got pushed around by BYU in a lot of regards, that Georgia won't do it. You got to where me and you ultimately disagree the most is that we look at resumes and it not being accounted into this. Now, we're not going to get in that argument. However, Joe, how do you look at Texas Tech and look at what Georgia's been through and look at the things that Georgia has and say to yourself that Texas Tech has more than that? Morton is hurt. If you don't want to do resumes, if you don't want to do all of that, when it comes down to it, I don't know if he's going to be able to make the throws and make the plays that he needs to. And quite frankly, I'm going to rely and trust in Georgia, who's been through the adversity and has been through a lot of this shit, to overcome that. I also have a problem with, I don't care that Notre Dame's got 2 losses. Joe, there's no way to me that you should have them ahead of Georgia, Ole Miss, Oregon, Notre Dame, or Texas. There's no way.
I definitely think that they should be ahead of Texas and Notre Dame. I definitely stand by that. I think that is overly critical, Blake, for Texas Tech to say that they should be that far down.
Joe,
I can understand us having the debate about wait, hold on. I can understand us having the debate about Georgia being ahead of them, and it's to me, it's very close, which is my whole argument here, is that I think that all these teams in that grouping are flawed and they have issues. I think that the argument for Ole Miss being ahead of them is absolutely there, and it wouldn't be one that I would stand up here and put up a huge fit over, because I think that you could build that argument and we can have a sensible conversation. But Blake, I have one good football game for Texas in the past month where it felt like they really had control and they let Vanderbilt get back into the game. That is an issue that we have overlooked.
And Texas Tech hasn't played more than one ranked opponent to have that.
Okay, but Blake, this is where I always lose my mind when we have these conversations. I'm trying to assess these teams based on what I have watched and evaluating the talent on the field.
Okay,
I'm not trying to rank a team that's got 5 losses.
Okay,
in the top 5.
How do you assess them?
I assess them of having a top 2 pass rush in college football. What do you mean? Are you saying how I assess them? I use my eyes.
And you use your eyes based off of what? Meaning that they play the game.
Okay, wait. In the offseason, when the college football season ends, I shift my focus to the NFL draft. One of the key principles of evaluating draft prospects is not scouting the helmet, not scouting who they're playing up against. Is it valuable to have film of a player going up against another top prospect? Absolutely.
Name one that David Bailey's going up against. My point exactly.
I'm not going to. No. Okay. Ask me that question. Wait, no, stop. To ask me that question, then to me to be able to randomly pull a Big 12 offensive line, I would need to. That is not a question I'm going to be able to answer.
You could have instantly gone to Utah. That, by the way,
So then you just gave an example. That's a very good point. They had a lot of success against Utah.
When the best team that he played, arguably in Utah, best offensive line, he was his least productive. What happens against Georgia? What happens against Oregon?
The Georgia offensive line has been against this. Can you let me finish with my point? My point that I was trying to make with this, Blake, is that when from a draft perspective, if I'm watching film and I'm evaluating film and I'm evaluating how teams are performing, I am making those assessments based on where I see talent, where I see flashes, where I see dominance. I see game-by-game dominance from their entire front seven. I see capable dominance from their offense when Barry Morton is at full strength and when he's healthy.
But he's not. So
That's their flaw, and I've agreed. That is their flaw.
You keep saying the word dominance, how they're dominating opponents, and you're telling me not to look at resume.
Blake,
hold on. You can't.
Things don't have to be.
They are. Joe,
don't have to be directly related.
Joe, a Texas Tech goes out there and dominates an opponent. I have Georgia playing ranked opponents and getting in dogfights, and you're telling me that they're not related. You're going to have
the two best teams in the Big 12 that they played, they smoked. What are you – you're trying to make this argument they haven't played anybody.
You literally came out here last night and said BYU isn't a good football team.
I did. Doesn't mean that they're not a rankable team in the top 25 in the back end of the top 25. They can't help who they played. They can help dominating the best teams in their conference.
And neither can Georgia when Florida, when Penn State, with Indiana, when those teams are going against teams that are 3-6 and they have just as much talent as Texas Tech does. Because they do.
Say that again. I got distracted by comments in the chat.
When Florida and Penn State, who are 3-6, have the same level of talent that Texas Tech does from a draft. You talked about the draft. Does Penn State and Florida not have just as much draft prospects as Texas Tech does? Because the truth of the matter is they do. So their record on a singular day, their record does not matter.
Hold on. Wait. We need to qualify what you just said. The flaw with Penn State and Florida is that the talent that they had coming into the season did not develop and take the step that it needed to. Texas Tech did. Texas Tech has the core players that has
like
been,
it has against inferior opponents.
You're acting like that they're playing an FCS schedule. You're acting like they're playing an FCS schedule. That is what this is crazy.
They're not playing who Oregon's playing, and they're not playing who Georgia's playing. You got to admit that. And then when you say the word dominance, like, let me give an example. And I know that you're going to talk about this because I'm going to call you out on it. You had Oregon at number 5 last week. Now, you're probably going to say, hold on.
Well, yes.
You're probably going to say that I ranked the teams based off of where they're at right now.
No. Wait, hold on. Can you just let me explain myself really quickly here?
Damn it.
Well, you're trying to like pull information from me without like letting me explain myself.
Okay, but can I finish?
I start from scratch every single week. Go ahead.
Okay. You moved them after a ranked win on the road.
I didn't move them. I started from scratch. That's
no,
not how I operate.
Okay, then why are they below Texas Tech then? What did Oregon do on the road in the rain with injuries when they ran for almost 300 yards on a ranked opponent who you think is better than BYU? What did they do?
I believe that their flaw, as again, I have identified, I was trying to explain earlier what all these teams' flaws are. They're banged up right now. We talked about this in the preview. They're very banged up right now. I don't think that is a wrong criticism and concern to have. When are they getting guys back?
If Morton goes up against teams with athletes like Oregon and Georgia, he's going to get blasted. Because here's the truth. BYU does not have the dudes that Georgia, Oregon, or even Ole Miss does, and you don't want to admit that. If you mean to tell me that Kirby Smart is not going to send the same heat and do the same things BYU did to get to a statue, you're wrong.
Sure. Okay. A hobbled Baron Morton still
It's
put up 29 points. 29 points.
BYU couldn't get past the 50.
Like, this is my point.
They're one of the
reason. But why didn't they get past the 50? This was their worst offensive performance all year. A normally dominant rushing attack was held to 63 yards.
They weren't dominant in a lot of ways. The red zone, they were complete ass. Do you think that happens
their
against
offense was yeah, that's my point. Wait,
your offense wasn't dominant because when you get to the red zone 7 times and you got to kick 5 field goals, that's not dominating. That's whipping out your tallywhacker, pissing down your leg.
I didn't say that their offense was dominant. I said that their team collectively was dominant against BYU, and the way that they performed collectively, their defense carried the load. Banged up Baron Morton has been an issue for this team. If he's able to play, that implies that he's going to get healthy over the next few weeks. Guys can recover and get better. Right now, there are guys not on the field for Oregon, and I don't know when they're coming back. I mean, here's a perfect example of how this injury stuff, even though we get these injury reports every single week, they don't mean anything, is that right now we have Jermon McCoy was supposed to play, it felt like every single week. Every single week we heard that Jermon McCoy might be coming back, and he hasn't played a snap this season. Cam Rising, the same crap happened at Utah a couple years ago. I'm just trying to I don't want to hang too much.
What was the over-under that you thought on this show I was going to say the word tallywhacker?
I feel like you sneak something like that in every single show. So I'm not gonna act surprised.
I sneak in a little tallywhacker. Yeah, you're right. All right. I don't agree with you. I love Texas Tech. I do. I don't think they're better. Number one, if you're going to ask me the truth, I don't think that they have better resumes than those teams that you have below them. Either you agree with me.
I don't care about resumes. I'm not making my decision based on resumes.
Okay, well, I do. Number two, I don't think that they're the better teams. I don't. Because until Texas Tech can prove to me that they can go up against one of these big boys and win, I'm going to have my skepticism. Do I think that they can do it? Here's the thing. Do I think that they can do it? Yes. But at the same time, there comes a little bit of inherent wealth in reference to I think they're deeper, meaning Georgia. Oregon, I'll give you a little bit of I think Notre Dame's deeper than them. Pause. I think Notre Dame's got better athletes than them. I got to be real with you. I think they're also a little bit better coached. I think Ole Miss is a better coach staff than them. I don't know what this Texas Tech defense, who has not been tested defensively like a team against Ole Miss. I don't. Like, Joe, I look at Ole Miss and say to myself, if they can put up 35 points in 5 straight possessions against Georgia, what will they do to Texas Tech? People don't realize that Kwan Lacey is one of the best running backs in the entire country right now.
Wait. But Blake, my problem with that statement that you're making, you're asserting that Georgia's defense is good.
They are good. Joe.
They have 11 sacks. They had 8 coming into the game against Mississippi State.
And Joe, you keep going to one statistic. Gunnar Stockton versus Morton.
Pass rush is so important in college football. Defensive line play is important in college football.
And let me tell you what the truth is. Texas Tech is going to go in the playoff and play one of these big team or SEC teams, and they're going to get their ass whooped. You want to place a bet on it? Because I'll go right now.
No, I strongly disagree with that. You are undervaluing the talent of David Bailey and Romello Height.
Georgia pass rush, and all they do is win against ranked opponents. Name a team in the top 25 that deserves to fucking be there that Texas Tech has been. Where have they been? Joe, they lost to Arizona. They lost to Arizona State.
Blake, you spent all of last year talking about how the fact that Miami's defense kept allowing teams to hang around with them, that being a flaw for them. And it came to fruition.
They were 125th in the country in passing yards allowed.
The Georgia defense, statistically, in their pass defense is bad because they don't have a pass rush. This is a fatal flaw. This isn't like a little issue, whoopsie. No, this is a flaw. This is a problem. You can't get after the quarterback, Blake. You can't get into and win a shootout every single game. They lost to Alabama because Alabama beat them at that game. They got up too quick on them, and they trailed on them.
Georgia defensively, they're 20th in the country in total defense. They're 12th in the country in run defense. You're right. They have not been good in their secondary, even though they're getting better, but nobody wants to admit that. They're 58th in the country. They're 24th in the country in scoring defense. And they face 2 top 10 offenses in the country in Alabama and Ole Miss. Can Texas Tech say that?
Blake, this is where like you're basing your argument on who they've played. You're basing their argument on who they played.
You cannot keep coming out here and saying, I like Texas Tech.
I'm doing it.
Yeah, but it's a wrong take when you say, I look at their – it is. You can't say that I'm looking at the teams that they're dominating because they're in an inferior conference and then say, oh, well, Georgia, they're getting in dogfights with ranked opponents. No shit.
I'm not criticizing them for getting into dogfights. I'm criticizing for the fact that their pass rush clearly is a problem for them because games that they should be handedly winning, they're allowing opponents to hang around with them.
And they keep winning with it. And you know who else keeps winning? With a massive flaw, Alabama that you have over Texas Tech who can't run the football.
I think that Alabama's no. Okay, well, wait, hold on. Why is that a problem though? I have Alabama ahead of us.
Because it's a massive flaw. If they can't,
it is absolutely a flaw. And there's no perfect team this year in college football. There's not. I don't want to hear the Ohio State take because they look incredibly dominant, but nobody is perfect this year. Nobody is ever perfect in college football. There have been like a handful of teams that have been perfect in the 100+ years that this sport has happened. So nobody's perfect. Blake, I do agree with you, but the thing is, not having a run game, their offensive approach is survivable. Not having a run game in 2025 is not as dangerous as not having a pass rush
has been survivable because they're a top 12 defense.
It's 2025. You're playing against teams that have elite passing offenses, elite receivers. You can't give these – and this is a year where quarterback play has been elite.
Texas Tech does not have any player on their team not named David Bailey that's elite.
Romello Height is getting top 100 draft pick height.
That's not elite.
Absolutely.
Top 100's not elite.
You know how hard it is to get drafted in the top 100? That is a no. I'm not letting you take that one.
You said, hold on. No. You said the word elite. The guy behind me is elite. When you use the word elite.
In the context of college football, that means he's a top 10 pass rusher.
Joe, how many busts in the top 100 rusher? And how many busts in the top 100 happened this past year?
That is
That's
a
not elite.
ridiculous counter to this.
No,
that doesn't
because we see guys that are recruiting in the top 100 that, they're a 5-star dude, and they're not really that good. Being a top 100 pick does not make you elite. Being dudes like the guy behind you makes me behind me.
Okay. Well, David Bailey is been producing as one of the best pass rushers in college football, and he is going to be picked in the top 10 picks.
Yeah, sure. I agree. But I said everyone not named David Bailey.
You don't.
I don't think he has
fixes
I think they're going to fix it.
I think that we've been waiting weeks for them to fix it. You're distracting from the fact that I'm upset with what you did with Texas A&M. Can you bring it up? Can we bring this up?
Texas A&M, I've had him at number 2 for the last 3 weeks.
No, you didn't. You didn't have him at number 2 last week.
Yes, I did. I had him the week that they
Okay, so this is where I'm pissed off. I forgot that you did this. You moved Alabama up. Actually, I'm not even going to frame it like that. You have Alabama at 3, and you have Indiana at 4. Blake, I'm sorry. You can't do that with Indiana. You can't drop Indiana and put them there.
Why not?
Blake, they have a performance against Penn State, enduring injuries. No reason to win that game on the road in one of the hardest road environments in college football.
Interesting.
They march down and they win the game.
Interesting.
Fernando Mendoza pulls off something that most college football quarterbacks are incapable of doing.
Glad
there are maybe 5 guys that are capable of doing this. What is going to be your counter argument here?
So glad you asked. Fernando Mendoza's played a ranked opponent this year. He also played Penn State. I would say from a talent perspective, the best 2 teams that he's played has been Oregon. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And from a talent-only perspective would be Penn State. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
From just pure talent. So glad that you agree with that. He went 19 of 30 for 218 yards, an interception, and a touchdown. And against Penn State last week, he went 13 of 23 for 233 yards with a touchdown and an interception. Everyone keeps saying Fernando Mendoza. Well, the 2 best talented teams that he's played, he went 19 of 30 for 218, 1 touchdown and a pick. He went 13 of 23 for 233. Excuse me, that was not a 1, that was a 2. 2 touchdowns and an interception. And y'all keep coming out here every single week screaming Fernando Mendoza. I'm taking Ty Simpson.
Blake, go ahead. Go
ahead.
Over the course of the last 4 games, Ty Simpson hasn't thrown over 300 yards. He's had numerous fumbles. He has a game against South Carolina where he completed 55% of his passes. He completed 60.
How many drops?
I don't have that stat in front of me.
Okay, we'll pull it up.
That stat?
So glad you asked.
Did you even get that stat?
He had 4 drops against LSU last week. Want to know how many he had 5 against South Carolina. So you got 9 drops. Y'all keep coming out here talking about Fernando Mendoza. I'm going Ty Simpson, and I'm going that wide receiver core. I know that they have flaw in the running game. I get it. But for when Fernando Mendoza plays the more talented teams, he's not performing like I've seen Ty Simpson against the teams like Georgia. Sorry.
I just think that you're kind of
he 1,000% had 4 drops against LSU. He had 3 of them on the same drive.
I think that you're overlooking. Look, I'm not trying to criticize either of these guys. I don't want to criticize Ty Simpson, but I don't think that there's been this vast separation of performance between the 2 of them.
It has when he's playing the bigger opponents, the more talented opponents. Joe, he's barely getting above 50% here. Y'all keep saying he's making big throws, and I agree with you. We look at the big throw at the end of the game that he got bailed out on, and I'm not going to hear anything else.
He didn't get bailed out on. This is what's like the way
he went just over 50% against him.
Blake, not every performance is perfect.
Name a bad game for Ty Simpson. You sit there on your computer.
Wait,
look, name one.
No. I'm pulling up. I just had it in front of me. I'm pulling up his game log.
Okay,
I just named to you the the fact that over the course of this season, he hasn't had a bad like total meltdown game. He's got one interception on the year.
And I could say the Oregon game, when you throw a pick six in a critical moment and you're barely getting over 50%, it's not a great game.
I think to directly attack Fernando Mendoza as the reason why they need to be dropped to 4 is not a solid argument, because the rest of it, they have a more well-rounded team.
Okay,
Indiana has a more well-rounded team.
I thought that you would hate the Fernando Mendoza take. Joe, the best 2 talented teams that Indiana has played, has it been Oregon and Penn State?
You already asked me this question. You know the answer to it.
You had, in both of those games, when you look at them, they had 104 yards rushing against Iowa, and then they had 108 yards rushing against Penn State. So this dominating team, this absolutely dominating team that they keep saying that, so you're going up against a ranked opponent. I got a one-dimensional Oregon team that damn near ran the ball for 300 yards last week. I think Alabama has proven through the last 6 weeks against tougher opponents that they have hit a stride that Indiana doesn't feel like to me that they've hit. Against Iowa, against Penn State, the last couple of games, you haven't looked like the dominant team that everybody keeps trying to convince me that you are. But yet I keep looking the last 6 weeks over Alabama, and I'm like, all right, so they beat 4 ranked opponents. They played a really tough LSU defense this past week, and they just keep winning.
Blake, I'm not disrespecting Alabama for winning the way that they are, and I think that Alabama has easily, and Ty Simpson have performed at a very, very high level. The problem is that when we add the context of who they've faced in this period of time, they went up against a non-existent Tennessee defense that could literally do nothing. Ty Simpson only threw for 253 in that game. They went up against a bottom feeder South Carolina team that they should have dominated and closely won that one. And the LSU game should have been a much cleaner, more dominant victory. Like, my issue with Alabama is I feel like that there is less consistent dominance. I think, sorry, let me rephrase.
There goes
less balance
again.
There's less balance.
Well, you bring up.
I haven't. Wait, can you let me finish? The issue that I have here.
That's what she said.
Their inability to run the football in the context of the argument that we had earlier is very different. In the context of this specific argument, even when Indiana has had issues finding the same big explosive plays on the ground that they had in other games, they still have been able to grind out yards and to convert when they've needed to. They're still going over 100 yards. It's not a crazy big performance, but to be able to lean on your run game to produce in the small areas is how you win close games against tough opponents.
They almost lost to Penn State because they couldn't run the ball.
I would argue that they lost to Penn State because they didn't have Elijah Surratt, and they became very, very one-dimensional.
In some of those
games, just like if Ryan Williams isn't on the field, you only have Jeremy Bernard to turn to.
That's what I was about to say. Some of those games that you're saying that they're not dominant in, you're saying the same thing for Indiana. They didn't have Surratt. Well, they didn't have Williams. And by the way, Ryan Williams is a better receiver. And then you brought up this really bad Tennessee team. Who's the number 1 team in the country in total offense? Who is the number 1 team in the country in total offense?
It shouldn't be Tennessee, but it's Tennessee.
Well, it is Tennessee.
Do you think? Wait, hold on. Do you think Tennessee's a good team? Do you think that Tennessee's a good team?
Over a good team? Yeah, I think they're a good team.
Do you think that their defense should be classified as a challenge?
No. I think their offense should. I think their offense, who has put up 500 yards per average through 9 weeks, yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge. Sorry to tell you, but when you average 500 yards a game, yeah, it's a little bit of a challenge.
You didn't let me finish what I was trying to say earlier. Look, good for them for playing against a mediocre, awful Tennessee team and putting up 37 points.
Who else is Indiana playing against? You keep talking
Stop asking me my resume. Can you let me finish what I'm trying to get to here?
That Alabama's playing Rudy Poos, and I'm asking you, who did Indiana play?
Tennessee shouldn't be ranked. Tennessee shouldn't be ranked. I hate this is like just using that as a solid performance.
Notre Dame shouldn't be ranked.
Notre Dame is 10 times better than Tennessee.
Yeah, I agree.
We have a quarterback who turns the ball over and no secondary.
But you know what Notre Dame also has? Hold on. You know what Notre Dame also has? A losing Hold on. You know what Notre Dame has? A losing record against top 10, 25 opponents. But
this is the problem with this whole resume shit. When we watch the two teams, there's a difference between them when we watch and use our eyeballs to assess how different they looked. Tennessee couldn't beat Oklahoma because they pissed down their leg.
All three of their losses come against top 12 opponents. Guess what Indiana hasn't done to date? Guess what they haven't done? Hold on.
Have completely lost me.
Hold on. What is Indiana and Notre Dame and all of these other teams, not named Tennessee? The losses don't bother me when you're losing to top 12 opponents. Was the game close? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was a one-score game against Oklahoma, who's in the top 12. Oh, let's see. Was it a one-score? Hold on. Hold on. Was it a one-score game against Georgia and their kicker missed a field goal? Was it? I'm sorry how we forgot about that. But yet Notre Dame, you know what? They only lost to a point by Texas A&M.
Like, this is my whole problem, though, is
Notre Dame doesn't
when you just look at the score and you just read the score off against said ranked team, sure, it sounds like a sound argument. They played like dog shit against Oklahoma. They gave up a million big plays. Joey Aguilar gave up so many dumb mistakes in that game.
And Notre Dame didn't?
No. Notre Dame has been far more fundamentally sound than Tennessee. This is where you're losing me. You can't compare
390 yards. And you're saying that they were fundamentally sound?
They have. You will sit here and prop up Texas A&M as being one of the most explosive offenses in college football.
They are. You know what else? Nothing I said about Tennessee is false. Not one word. Did they line up with 3 seconds left?
Those things are false.
No, they're not. Did they line up with 3 seconds left on the clock to kick a field goal against Tennessee and miss it? Yes or no?
Did they give up a million yards as well?
I didn't answer. You keep asking me questions. I'm asking you to answer one of mine. Did they do that against Georgia? Yes or no?
Yes. Okay. You're naming a very specific.
Was it in the fourth quarter a one-score game against Oklahoma? Yes or no?
You can't sit here and use I can't believe you're using Tennessee as your defense point. This is where we're lost here.
Here's the problem. You keep saying, Blake, stop talking about resumes. Sounds good. And then you look at Alabama and hold on. I let you go here. You got to let me.
You really didn't let me go. You keep cutting me off. I had a talking point that I haven't gotten to 5 minutes ago that I have been trying to get to.
Because you know why? You know why I don't? Because you keep saying Alabama keeps beating shitty teams. And then when I say
that's not what I said. That didn't come out of my mouth. I was trying to set up a point and then you kept not letting me finish.
The exact words that you said is Tennessee's not a good team.
They're not a good team. They're not a good team. They're a shit team.
And I asked you, then how is that a flaw against Alabama when Indiana's doing the same thing? And you're asking me to find separation. I'm asking you.
Blake, this is where we got down the rabbit hole. You didn't let me finish what I was trying to say earlier. I'm trying to set up the context, and then you kept taking us down like 10 different roads.
I'm muting myself.
Okay. I'm trying to point out the fact that it is a problem that they can't run the ball and they can't command and hold a lead. They can't. It's a problem. It is a problem that they can't get over 70 yards rushing in games. That's an issue. Look at who they've gone up against. Huh?
Who can't hold the lead?
Let me rephrase that.
Okay, thank you.
Running the football is important if you haven't established a lead. You need to be able to run the ball, slow the game down, close the game out. They have allowed LSU, you have South Carolina, games, and Missouri was another example of one of these performances. Georgia almost climbed back in that game as well. Games in which you needed to be able to run the ball to slow the game down and control the time of possession. That is an issue. I don't have Indiana having those problems.
Oregon.
Oregon?
Who literally got back in the game after a pick six. What do you mean? What do you mean?
That has nothing to do with what I just said to you.
You literally just said Alabama can't hold a lead. Yes or no? Yes
I
or no?
reframed it. No, I reframed it. I said Alabama can't run the ball to close out a game.
They can't close out games. You mean exactly like Indiana did when they had 104 yards rushing against Oregon and they couldn't close out the game after the pick six and then it's a one-score game and then it's a tie game. You mean the exact same way?
That's against the top 10 team and they still managed to close the game out.
That up. You said Alabama couldn't close out a game against Georgia. Where are they ranked? Thank you, Your Honor.
They're
Swish, and that's the game.
No, we can't. We have to get to the Miami NC State preview. But I don't think that's. I don't think that counters what I just broke down.
Everything you just said about Alabama is also equal to Indiana. Everything.
Indiana's a run game.
Everything.
Indiana's a run game.
They also have a quarterback in the 2 games against the best opponents. Pulled out his tallywhacker and said, "Oh my God, what is going on?"
He didn't piss down his leg. He played good secondaries. Not everyone's going to be perfect.
Sixes and interceptions in critical moments to give another team a lead or tie the game is pissing down your leg.
Putting together a game-winning drive is something
and he
that
got bailed out
99. He didn't get bailed out on 99% of quarterbacks in college football can't do.
I completely bailed out on it. He's lucky.
All right, we got to get to this preview.
Miami versus North Carolina State. Joe, when you look at this game, how do you preview
it? Blake, this line on FanDuel, 14.5. I got to be honest with you. I have a very strong inkling that NC State is going to cover that line. I went back and watched the Miami performance against Syracuse, and they dominated Syracuse because they're undergoing their own issues. But I think that there's something that is being missed. They allowed 7 sacks. They didn't score. The first quarter was scoreless because they allowed a number of big sacks that derailed Miami's drives. Look, I give Miami credit. I have had a lot of caution and a lot of issues with this Miami team over the past couple of weeks, and I'm cutting through me blindly hyping them up like I was doing earlier. I have a lot of concerns for their offensive line. And I think that the biggest thing that is really concerning for me stepping into this game that a lot of people are going to overlook is that NC State is one of the most underrated athletic nucleuses in college football. CJ Bailey, a Florida guy, by the way, he's from Florida. 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 70% completion percentage. He's an elite athlete. Hollywood Smothers, who I think is coming back for this game, 825 yards and 6 touchdowns as a running back. They've also got some pretty good depth at that position. And then Terrell Anderson has 427 yards and 4 touchdowns. Blake, I think that this should be a spot where Miami wins. I am not suggesting that they lose, but I really think that as NC State proved, they are a team that can really stress out any of the top teams in the ACC and could potentially sneak up on them.
I 1,000% agree about Bailey. The one thing that worries me about him in this game, the biggest thing, you said 7 interceptions. The 70% completion percentage that he has is highly impressive for a guy who can be very boom or bust. If he is able to reduce some of those mistakes, like he did against Georgia Tech, I might add, Joe, this team's going to put up points. They are going to put up points against them. I can't believe that I'm the guy, though, that comes in here and is going to ride with Miami on this one. But I'm with you. Miami, I don't trust them. I don't trust that they can stop things. Joe, what are the teams and what is the last team that we saw play Miami and beat them? What happened? You can look at the stat sheet to all the Miami fans and say, Kevin Jennings didn't run for that many yards.
He's banged up.
No. Then you didn't watch the game. And you certainly didn't watch the fourth quarter if you say that. 3 of the first downs that were converted came off of him running the ball. One of them being a penalty, and 2 of them he got with his legs in critical moments for them to tie the game and then ultimately win the game. Bailey is the same dude with being a better passer. And that is the bottom line, the way that I see it. If your edge guys that you keep telling me, in which I agree Ruben Bain is a top 5 level pick, I'm with you there. Joe, he's been playing a lot in what I would characterize as being undisciplined. His contained principles against Kevin Jennings a couple of weeks ago, with all due respect to Ruben Bain, was highly selfish and highly undisciplined. He's got to be better there. Without a doubt, one of the best players in college football, arguably the best player if you want to go there. He's playing undisciplined football. You can't do that this week. Now, when I look at them from NC State, Joe, they are throwing the ball all over the place. And I'm seeing a secondary in Miami that maybe we thought was okay, struggle the last couple of weeks. I know that in their pass D, from a statistical analysis standpoint, in the beginning of the year, that they have been really good. Joe, the last 4 weeks, they have not been. The last 4 games that they have played, they have not been. And it has been a struggle for that secondary when it comes to communication. This one's going to be high flying for me. I think Miami's got to go in there and at minimum score 35 to win it. They got to. But here's the thing. You went up against a team 2 weeks ago in SMU who had one of the worst secondaries in the country. Joe, guess who is 134th in the country in passing yards allowed? It's SMU. Guess who's 133rd? NC State. And what did SMU do against your receiver core when it mattered most? They smothered the shit out of you. Now, I understand SMU is very boom or bust when it comes to their secondary. Joe, they have 14 interceptions on the season, and I get that. They are very boom or bust. They've been more bust than they've been boom. Regardless, this secondary is not good. Carson Beck, who the hell are you? There's all this talk surrounding you. There's all this stuff surrounding you. You still have everything that you want in a playoff spot right in front of your face. Are you going to seize it? Because the team in the beginning of the year to the team I see now is not that. This NC State team defensively is not good at all. This secondary is not good. Can they overcome it with this passing attack will be the biggest question for me.
I think that like the biggest part with this is that you're going up against a team, as you mentioned, bad secondary, 124th in EPA per pass allowed. They're allowing a lot of big plays. But the problem is we sat here and had the same premise when we talked about SMU. So now you're in a spot where you have a kind of replicated matchup where you were supposed to dominate and win and you struggled. I agree with you. Carson Beck has to step up to the plate. He has to have a big game. He needs to perform well. He can't make the same mistakes and struggle the way that he did against SMU, because I would worry that if everything is on his shoulders again and he really, really fails the way that he has done recently, I really worry that they end up getting into a dogfight with this team. 11th in EPA per pass this year on offense. They are truly one of the most underrated offenses in college football for what they've been able to generate. And I'd argue that statistically, they'd maybe even be better if Smothers hadn't gotten banged up a couple of weeks ago. They didn't have Smothers when they played against Georgia Tech. And
all over them.
And they still produced a crap load of points. There is going to be a very underrated challenge here with this NC State team. And I say that like the more positive flip of this, because as much as we're kind of outlining here, NC State can sneak up on you. And I think this is probably the most critical we've been of Miami, who still has hopes of getting into the college football playoff. This has to be like the real prove it moment.
It does.
Which sounds crazy because you had a month of September that had a lot of prove it moments. You're struggling right now. This is a team that just upset the team that everybody assumed and likely is in the lead to get into the ACC championship game. Can you go out and take advantage of their weaknesses, and can you dominate them? I watched Notre Dame team dominate them. Why can't you do the same exact thing? You should be able to. Or are you going to let them hang around? Are you going to let CJ Bailey run around and make big plays, and you're going to be scratching your head and getting frustrated? This has to be a galvanizing moment to kick their ass. It needs to be.
Well, I just ask you this question. Why would I have a lot of – now, I'm about to contradict myself, and I understand this because I'm picking them to win and I'm picking them to cover. I think that they're going to show up. For once, they're going to show up. But I have zero faith in you. As crazy as that sounds, I think you're going to do it. But if you ask me, like gun to my head, like, Blake, are they going to do it? No, I don't know. Because literally 2 weeks ago, you went up against the same level of offense and you couldn't perform. You couldn't perform. This Bailey kid, by the way, Joe, I'm just going to be real with you. We don't talk about the portal with all this coaching carousel stuff. Buddy, This kid goes in the portal. He's going to get a lot of money. He's going to
baller.
He is a baller. I'd take him right now. I'm going to leave that alone. If you think that teams are not watching every single game that he is playing right now, you're a fool. You got it. Ruben Bain. If you're the best end in the country, if you're the best edge guy in the country, go show it. Because
he should be a defensive tackle, by the way. He needs to add weight and be a 3-tech. He would be a perfect 3-tech. I don't think he's built to play.
He's 280.
Yeah, he could be Kalijah Cansey. Kalijah Cansey was so good as a 3-tech, and then he's been really good in the NFL, and I think Cansey's 280.
Joe, I got to be real with you. I don't think he needs to gain or lose anything. I agree. He's an interior player. The problem is he's got the athletic ability to be an edge. That's the crazy thing. I'm with you there, but you better contain. You better contain this week because this kid hits the edge and you're in deep trouble here. All right, let's move to picks, Joe. Before we get out of here, I know that we got to get super chats as well. Notre Dame minus 12.5 versus Pitt. Both of us going with the Fighting Irish. And this segment's presented by our good friends over at FanDuel.
I have a lot of reluctance for this pick because, as I mentioned before, Pitt always seemingly sneaks up on Notre Dame in years where there's the most on the line. I think that there's an opportunity here for Heinzel to put up a couple of big plays and keep this game within range. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame is going to overpower their defense that has shown a lot of issues. If Jeremiah Love can get popping off, that is going to be the biggest driving force for Notre Dame, winning this game by 14 or more points.
I agree with you. I'm picking Notre Dame by 100 because Pat Narduzzi said that he didn't care, so why should I? Okay. USC minus 6.5 versus Iowa. Joe, both of us going with the Trojans.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to rain, by the way, in Los Angeles, which is really bizarre. It's monsoon season. Which is crazy. By the way, monsoon season there sucks. It is. When I lived there, it was awful. I do think, though, that the separation point is that they can generate enough big plays through the air, and I think that there is a roadmap for running the football the way that Oregon did for them to get going with King Miller on the ground as well, and they'll be able to win this thing by at least a touchdown.
This team is a playoff team when they play at home. Give me USC. Give me the points. By the way, I just do not trust Iowa to score enough, even in a monsoon. Well, Blake, why would you say that? Oregon.
That's a good point.
Thank you. Alabama minus 5.5 versus Oklahoma. Both of us going with the Tide.
I do not think that Oklahoma's secondary, as they've shown, they can't handle explosive receivers. They can't. They couldn't tackle against Tennessee. That was your biggest challenge, and you failed. You failed against Ole Miss as well. I'm absolutely going Alabama here, and I think that they're going to win pretty confidently.
I do too. Here's the thing. This would be the best. This would be my lock of the week. Bama minus 5.5. By the way, it was 4.5 to start off the week. Maybe somebody placed a bet over on FanDuel at minus 4.5. It's my lock of the week. Give me Bama. Give me the points. You know what no one's talking about this week? Revenge.
That's key.
Very key. Give me Bama the points. Georgia minus 5.5 versus Texas. Just the one place that you and I disagree here. I'm going with Georgia. You're going with Texas.
Actually, it's the second place we disagree because I disagree on the next pick as well. I think that the pass rush issue for Georgia is going to show up in this game because Arch played really well with a clean pocket. So give me a situation where he's going to be poised. I think at the very least, this is a big enough of a cushion for them to cover. I'm not suggesting Texas wins outright, but I think that they can cover and keep this close.
Georgia last year held them to a combined 60 yards rushing. I need to see Texas actually run the ball in Athens. In their last SEC game of the year for Georgia, give me Georgia. Give me the points. I don't think Texas can go up there and do it. I got to see it. I got to see it. And the points. All right, Miami, last one. Miami minus 14.5 versus NC State. I got to be real with you. I don't like my pick anymore. I'm going NC State.
You're flipping it? All right, yeah. I'll let you get to flipping. Yeah, I think that Miami wins, but Bailey and company
into CJ Bailey.
Well, I think that there's room for a backdoor cover. I think that that's absolutely on the table and something that we should kind of expect to happen because Miami has struggled to finish out on opponents that they should be beating.
Everything what everybody wanted to know. Paul Skeens has won the Cy Young Award if anybody wants to know. Alex with a $2 super chat. Tennessee beat best win is who? Mississippi State, LOL. Who's Ohio State's? Not named Texas. Yeah, the 41 stinker
You
schedule.
just named their best win. What do you mean? You just
But they're losing this week. They're losing this week. Rolex says Indiana barely beat a trash Penn State team. That's true. Sandman says poor Joe never got to finish his point.
I eventually did. Thanks, Sandman.
Eventually, everybody gets to finish. Royce says, hope y'all are doing well. That is what she said. Sorry, have not been able to catch the show live lately. Been busy working. Well, Royce, you're here now, and that's all that matters, buddy. Thank you,
Royce. Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see y'all Sunday. I got to go clear my my sinuses because I've been yelling at Joe all day.
Well, it was worth it.
It was. See y'all Sunday, guys. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.